Welcome to You the People. In this program, we will provide you with interviews and information from and about the people who affect your lives. Our program may include conversations with candidates, elected or appointed officials, town department heads, and more. We will delve into the kitchen table issues that make a difference in our towns and region. I'm your host, Julie Thompson. Let's get started. I'm so pleased to welcome back to You the People, Joan Meschino, who is the state rep for the Plymouth 3rd District. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be here.
And congratulations on being reelected.
Oh, thank you. And I really have to just really quick give a shout out and a thanks to the district for having so much faith in me and reelecting me for another term. I'm really enjoying public service and I really love this district and I'm delighted to get back to work on January 1.
And it's a 2-year term.
It's a 2-year term. We will all get sworn in on January 1st, which is always the first Wednesday of the month. And I'm actually pretty excited to get started again. We're already thinking ahead to what bills we're going to file and what projects we're going to work on. So yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Okay. So let's talk about a big thing that just happened. The legislature did vote to on the $4 billion economic development bill. A ton of things are in that.
Oh.
What are the things that most affect this district, or you think they mostly should be interested in?
Oh, so this is a tremendous investment in Massachusetts economy. So they're spending on the big investments were really around climate change.
Yep.
And really unlocking the opportunity for that new sector, for that growing sector, which is really about the innovation economy as well.
Right.
And all of this will mean both investments into the businesses themselves, making sure that Massachusetts is a good place for businesses like that, that they are welcomed here, that we're supporting them here, but also as well as investments in the workforce.
Right.
And making sure that all of those good jobs go to Massachusetts residents.
Absolutely.
And then of course, climate change being the existential crisis of our generation, Massachusetts is once again leading on all of the things that are going to decarbonize our economy in this sector. And so it's pretty exciting work. One of the other significant sectors that we're investing in through this bond spending is the life sciences.
Okay.
It's the next iteration of investment in the biotech sector.
Okay.
We have, whereas we have a burgeoning green climate tech sector, we have a seasoned, mature biotech sector. So it's exciting to see us take those next steps to make sure that the companies that are here are connecting again with our education. Think about all the universities we have,
right,
with all of the education and the innovations and that knowledge economy that's coming out, but supporting businesses to actually stay and be here. And then, of course, that's going to keep all the young people here. So,
hopefully.
So these are really amazing investments. But they're also...
Can I just follow up on that one for a sec? So you went to the Blue Conference recently?
Yes.
So that's all about the blue economy.
Yes.
Aquaculture and all those things. Is that included in life sciences? Is that included in climate mitigation? I mean, all those things connected?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. What I love about the Blue Future Economy, the Blue Future Conference, and that was through the Plymouth Foundation,
right,
that really brought that together. And if you listen to what some of those panels and the people were really talking about, was how Plymouth can lead, how they can be an anchor for Plymouth County, not just Plymouth as a town, but an anchor for the whole county,
right, and
really connecting our economic opportunities for the companies that are here and job opportunities for the people that live and want to work here, right, with our oceans, right, and with climate change. Right. So it's actually pretty exciting. It's about access to our waterways. It's about thinking about innovation in a different way than we normally have. And if you really think about Plymouth and their opportunities and what they've done around maritime economies and all of the innovation that we've
oysters,
done.
Kelp,
Oysters,
all
kelp, agriculture.
Yeah.
It's all right. Tourism.
Yep.
It's all part and parcel of that same thing. And so I thought that was fantastic. I loved everything everyone had to say. And the kinds of spending that are going to be made through climate tech investment, and just in general in terms of like the MassWorks infrastructure grants. I mean, there's $400 million in this bond bill for that as well.
Right.
Those are things that will come to the South Shore and come to communities like Plymouth.
Right.
And we're glad to see that, because any investments there in Plymouth actually has a ripple effect for the whole county. So we should be thinking about these investments more broadly, and that's Hull all the way down, and that's why I was there.
And your three towns of Cohasset, Hingham, and Hull obviously are seacoast towns.
Exactly.
All of them.
Yep.
So what happens in Plymouth
matters.
Yeah, it absolutely matters. Yeah. What happens in all of them matters.
But think about some of the other investments we're making. You know, even on the ecotourism. You know, we just did like an Irish Trails. I mean, you think about how that also works. That's like Hull all the way down, right? So. And there's a Women's History Trail now, and of course, hopefully everybody is thinking ahead to Rev 250, which is the celebration of our 250th anniversary of the Revolution. And since we're in Hingham, I'll just say, you should keep an eye out on what the Hingham Historical Society is doing. They are planning ahead, they are at the table, and they are thinking big. So for all of you history buffs, but all of you small businesses, right? This is gonna bring all of these people down here, and this uplifts everybody. And I think the leadership that Deirdre Anderson is doing right now on the Hingham Historical Society is really going to be transformative. It's pretty exciting stuff. So
I can tell. You think this is
well, and not to segue away from the bill and your underlying question, but there's a lot going on statewide around Rev 250.
So let's talk about that. That was another thing we were going to talk about. So the 250th anniversary of our state.
Yes.
What's so important about that?
So this is the moment, right, where we step forward and we say to the British government, this is not working for us, right? And I actually got to participate, went up to Concord, where they had the reenactment of that first time that they created the Provisional Congress for Massachusetts, which is the precursor to the House of Representatives. And I got invited because I happen to be the representative right now for Hingham and Cohasset. And Hingham, Benjamin Lincoln, was at the table when they did that. And so they engaged all of the state reps in that way. And when you really think about what they were doing, was they were saying, pretty much that's where our character and nature comes from, right? It's that being bold, it's that innovating, it's that saying like, we're gonna take care of our own. We're gonna take care of Massachusetts. And so that's where it really starts. And what they're celebrating is that moment, and it's a 2-year-long cycle. So hopefully some of you saw that we did, what was it, the reenactment of the Boston Tea Party. And it's just going all the way through until July 4th of 2026, right? Which is the actual date. And so what's really, I think, is important about it is celebrating who we are. When you know who you are and where you sort of originated from, and where you know, you can see where you're going. And I think you're seeing a lot of those same characteristics, that innovation spirit, and coming up in things like the blue economy, and thinking about what are our opportunities, what are our assets, and how do we uplift all of our people. And I think that's really where it comes from. And it's going to be really super fun and it's not just reenactments.
Right, it's not just looking backwards.
Right, it's not just
that
looking
was the
backwards.
last 250, what's the next 250 look like? Yeah.
And it's celebrating a lot of voices. I mean, you don't always often hear about, say, women's voices, but I mean, there's the Deborah Sampson Award that comes from, you know, the fact that there was this woman who volunteered in the Revolutionary Armies. And so when you think about some of those things, it's celebrating some of the things that we take for granted, and you know, or just that all the men went off to war, and who was taking care of Hingham then? It was probably all the women. So, you know, it's those kinds of things as well. So it's for history buffs, it's really cool, but for the rest of us, it's actually really interesting and fun too.
Does it bring in tourism?
Absolutely. The very first grants that came out around this came out of the Mass Office of Tourism. And so, and for those of you who are running smaller nonprofits or you know, people other than, say, the traditional, like the historical societies or the museums, there are actually more grants coming out, and should always be in touch with either my office or the senator's office if you need help or guidance in terms of that. But they very much want this to be engagement on the municipal level.
Sure.
And there's grants out there. So if you have ideas, give us a call, and we'll connect you with the right resources to see if it's something that you're eligible for. So,
Terrific.
yeah, it's very exciting.
Let's go back to the economic bill for one
Sure.
second. One of the things that you helped co-sponsor, I believe, was individuals running for office could use campaign funds for childcare.
Yes.
Which is a game changer to allow people to run who otherwise couldn't.
So think of it this way. It's economic development bond bill, right? We made some investments in things like childcare. Everybody understands, especially for parents, childcare is what unlocks economic opportunities, especially for the middle class, for regular folks, so they can really fulfill themselves in that way. But there's other opportunities too, and one of them happens to be running for elected office.
Right.
And so what we're really just hoping is, if you want a more diverse elected body, really reflecting intergenerational, multiple levels at socioeconomics, gender, right? Have more women elected. These are the kinds of investments you need to make to remove barriers, but to really think about it as creating pathways and opportunities to run.
Right.
So where this bill came from was Mike Conley, the representative from Somerville, was approached by a woman. She was running for the Somerville School Committee. And she had, we all know how it goes, right? You run through everybody asking them to babysit. And she just kind of didn't have anybody else she could ask to help babysit her child while she was campaigning for the school committee. And so she called and asked, can I use my money? And the Office of Campaign, OCPF, basically said, no, this isn't an authorized expense. So this is a highly regulated area. There's lots of rules you have to follow.
Sure.
And so she called and asked, and they said no. So that put it on the legislature to say this is an authorized expense. And that's what we did.
This is important.
Yeah, this is important. And it's just about creating pathways for people to run for office. And I think it's probably going to help more at the local level, because that's where parents are running for school committee. So think of it that way. But we want that, because if you're today's school committee member, you're tomorrow's select board member, or you're tomorrow's state rep. So these things lead to other paths.
Exactly.
So it's exciting. It was really nice to have that done.
Is there anything else in the $4 billion economic development bill that really speaks to Cohasset, Hingham, or Hull?
Well, I can't, you know me, I love my libraries. So there was actually $150 million additional for library construction projects. There's been some pent-up need there. So you know me, I love my library. So I was pretty excited to advocate for that. But then there were also some other interesting kind of things that are sort of burgeoning. So $103 million for artificial intelligence systems across the state, or $21 million for resilience in agriculture and fishing industries. So things like that. Obviously I follow and work closely with marine trades and Hornstra Farms and things like that. So those are just a few of the examples of the kinds of economic investments that the governor and that the legislature are making in our economy, because when our economy stays strong, we're resilient, and that means we can. That means people are employed. That means our businesses are thriving. That means we have time and the resources to do other things, and we can really weather anything at that point. So yeah, it's good stuff.
So now I want to talk to you just briefly about the election that just happened, local election, state, national. People are. More than ever, I think people need to communicate with each other.
I agree.
People need to, no matter what side people are on or what they believe in, we need to work together always to find the best options to move everybody forward. What difference will it make, or does it? I know one state rep who said to me often, he said, I don't even really pay attention to what goes on in Washington. I'm worried about here. What can we do here? Is that a realistic statement? Do we have to know what's going on in Washington? Or are we more kind of insulated based on the fact that we're Massachusetts? We do our own thing.
Well, I think that it's more a statement of what's your ambit of authority. So we are very well represented on the national level. We have an excellent, seasoned delegation. So, I mean, Congressman Lynch has been doing this for years and is an excellent leader. Congressman Delahunt also, oh my gosh, Congressman Delahunt recently just passed and was a good friend.
He was wonderful.
He was a wonderful man.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking of Congressman Keating, who came in behind him, represents Cohasset. And so, and certainly we work closely with Senator Markey and Senator Warren. So we're very well represented. So I can appreciate that statement, my colleague's statement, but so you focus on where your ambit of authority is, but make no mistake, we work very closely with our federal delegation, and in the same way that our select boards uplift the priorities of the communities to us as state representatives, we are always uplifting those to our federal delegation in that same way. So I don't want to say, don't want to disrespect his remark, but I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. But
I think he was bringing it
right,
down.
He was bringing it down to where I can
where am I
take
going to
action.
Focus? I'm focused
right,
on
I'm
my
focused
constituents.
On this.
Yes, what can I do?
That being said, I'll just say, so we have a change, right? And as America, one way or the other, President Biden was stepping down, so we're having a change.
Anyway.
And change can be, it's a trepidatious moment, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen differently, and certainly when we're talking about government and the investments, the kinds of investments we were just talking about, and how those will flow from the federal government down to the state are just going to change.
Right.
It's just going to change. But we always do the work, and we always work collaboratively together here in Massachusetts, and we're always going to be making these kinds of investments. And our state and our recent governors have been very good at availing themselves of all of the opportunities of the federal spending that comes down. I mean, we actually, every penny that we can get, we do, and we spend it. We spend it wisely and make those investments. So we really do, and that will all continue. So change can be scary. I understand that. And when you have an election that's as close as the one we did, it feels very much like there are winners and losers. But right now, it's about how we move forward together.
Agreed.
And Massachusetts, like we just talked about, we know who we are, and we know what we're about, and we will continue to take care of our own, like we always have. We always have.
Now, last week was Veterans Day. Your district has a very active veteran presence. What kind of work did the communities do for the veterans?
Oh, we have a wonderful, long-running tradition in Third Plymouth for military service, which shouldn't surprise anyone. And all three of the towns do wonderful programming and really have excellent veterans services agents. So really, if there are any veterans out there watching and you want to be connected, just reach out because they're there, they're helpful, they know the system, and even if you don't need anything right now, it's always good to sign up for those benefits in case you do need them. And don't think about it as just for you. Think about it as for your family as well. But we had wonderful ceremonies this year, uplifting and military
really
service and honoring.
And veterans' mental health. Do you have a bill related to veterans' mental health?
Yes. So Keith German, Hingham's VSO, actually brought this to our attention, and they feel like that the statistics are actually quite alarming. And so it's something like 1 in 9 veterans or servicemen will commit suicide. I mean, it's really shocking. And so what he's proposed is he's working with a national group to just build awareness and to commemorate September 22nd as Suicide Awareness among Veterans Day. And it's just to say there are services out there. There shouldn't be any stigma to this. And if you need help or you want to talk to someone, you should be able to come forward because help is there. And for those of you who are listening, you can dial 988, and then the first option is 1, and it's all confidential. It's 24/7.
Yeah.
And if you think you need help, call.
Yeah, call.
Really, please
Reach
do
out.
call.
Yeah,
Reach out.
Yeah.
But we have a wonderful supports here in the district. So Craig Wolf in Hull runs a coffee once a month the first Friday. 50 or 60 people regularly attend. They do a lot of work with WATD, a Veterans Voice, and they're always raising money. They're always asking for donations for food pantries. Thanksgiving is coming, and they will actually cook 1,000 meals, most of which get delivered. But you can go to Daddy's in Hull in Nantasket and have a free meal as a veteran with your family. So please don't be shy about reaching out. And then of course our students in Hingham are really cultivating that interest and that supports, and they have a student group that does a wonderful group.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now let me switch completely to the streaming bill.
Oh,
okay.
Our favorite topic.
So our favorite topic, because community media, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically supported by cable television revenues. And cable television is going by the way of the dodo bird. I mean, people are cutting the cord left and right. Who knows if there'll even be cable television down the road. So you have been really spearheading this, this bill that will have streaming companies kind of do the same thing that cable companies have been required to do over the years, which is a tiny, tiny percentage of the sales of their product go back to the communities like Harbor Media to be able to do this type of thing that this organization does.
Exactly what we're doing right now.
Right. So where does that stand? Because you have been fighting for this for so long.
So some good news. The legislative process is complicated and slow, right? Because we're vetting, right? We're vetting. But we had some good news. It actually went through the committee, and they reported it favorably. So it got the first thumbs up, which is really hugely important. Obviously, we're coming into the end of the session. Bills that do not get finished expire on January 31st, January 31st. You have to refile them. So, but what we'll do is we will refile the bill as it was reported. So we're not starting from scratch. We are starting from where we found agreement. And then we'll continue the advocacy from there. And so it's an important first step. It's hard to get things through committees sometimes, but we persuaded them, and it really took a lot of work. So we're excited to get back at it again in January, excuse me, and we're eager to keep going with it, and we'll continue to work with Mass Access, which is the membership organization for all of the
community media centers,
and they've been tremendous leadership, and they've been a great partner to work with, and our next step is really to start to build beyond the community media themselves, centers themselves, so that we can actually build a broader coalition calling for it. Because think about it, right? We're just talking about democracy. I mean, this is how you have transparency and accountability, especially on the local government, and people can't get everywhere. There's not even enough seats in the room. So you can watch your select board meeting or your school committee or whatever project is going on that you want to keep track of, but you can't necessarily get there. So honestly, and the programming is fantastic. You're training the next generation of programmers and producers and creatives. So it's such a great win.
Plus, in this day and age where people get their information in so many different places, and so many different, like I know Harbor Media just launched their app, which I put on my phone, which is great. So I can get instant updates for things that are local, really hyper-local, which the whole idea of community media is, hyper-local information. Not only government information, educational information, seniors, the arts, whatever it be, it's important. So thank you for continuing your advocacy.
Absolutely,
to do
absolutely,
that. Let's just switch one other thing and talk about ferries. Now, ferries are a huge priority, especially where people hate to drive into Boston. So what's up with the ferries?
Oh, the ferries are doing great. As a matter of fact, I just happened to have a meeting on this. Ferries hit their high ridership ever, all time, in July this year.
Wow.
So people are coming back, and it's interesting to see how y'all have changed the ridership. Hull, interestingly enough, is just steady growth.
Yeah.
But for the Hingham Ferry, apparently people are working from home a lot on Mondays and Fridays because it's more of a bell curve.
Yeah.
But the overall ridership is up. And the important thing is that thanks to everyone's advocacy, when it was first imperiled, thanks to everyone's advocacy, 880 people stepped forward and were willing to testify at that hearing, signed up for it, and that sent a strong message. And now the MBTA is making the investments in ferries. So hopefully you all are aware that there's a big ferry, the docks over in Hingham are actually slated to be rebuilt. That is a big investment. That's a huge investment. They've hired someone whose exact express role is to think about how to build out a world-class water transportation system. So it's not even just about Hingham and Hull and the South Shore. It's thinking about the whole harbor and how we activate that. So they're hiring people to do this work. They are making the investments. Hull probably just saw that they were fixing some of the things on their wharf as well, and we're talking to them about how to renovate that pier as well. So it's been great. They've bought some new boats, so they're making the investment.
And people who don't ever ride a ferry probably have no knowledge about this. But it's just like people that don't ride the T don't really pay attention to that. But it's all about transportation, about getting people from one place to another with efficiency and reliability. And the ferries are huge.
And it comes right back to the economic development bond bill that we were talking about. Is when you make investments in the transportation infrastructure, then that means that people really can live down on the South Shore and get to our economic center, which is Boston. That's where the jobs are. That's where we're commuting. I don't know about you, but I'm done driving on the Southeast Expressway. But you know, you need to be able to get in there. But it's also about all of the other amenities. I mean, people are riding that for healthcare, right? We have world-class hospitals, culture. Think about the museums and all of that. Or just even tourism, the North End, all of it. So, and we want all of those folks to be able to come back down here as well. Hingham did a transportation hub and created the shipyard. You want people to take the ferry down here, have dinner, and then go back. So it all works both ways. And you know, we will be obviously continuing to advocate, work very closely. In Hull, it's Jason McCann. In Hingham, it's Joe Fisher. And in Cohasset, it's Corey Evans, that we work with really well to continue that advocacy and to make sure they continue in that direction. But we will turn our attention now also to getting a better schedule on the commuter rail and figuring out the bus.
We do a whole other show on that.
Oh yeah, we can. But I'm looking at it.
So how can people reach out to you? How can they get to you? And how often can they see you in person?
So we have, both myself and Senator O'Connor, constituent services is our #1 priority. If you even think you should call us, please do. Our office is 617-722-2092. I swear to God, I don't answer the phone. A wonderful young man, Harrison or Jane, will answer that phone, and we are here to help you navigate state government. So if it even occurs to you to call, or you wonder like what I think, just call the office. We also do office hours. I am somewhere in the district on every Monday. I rotate between the towns and Linden Ponds, and you are always welcome to swing by and just say hi, ask a question, share a thought, and certainly email. You're always welcome to email me. We do get a tremendous volume, but so I don't always get a chance to reply back, but I do actually read it all. I do actually read it all.
So you know what's going on.
And
you know
I like to have a feel for what people are thinking about. The other thing I'll just say is lately I've gotten a lot of emails like, oh, hey, have you noticed this? If you see something in the district, especially like, I don't know, trash on George Washington Boulevard. Someone recently reached out about the parking lot in the ferry. You know, please email me. I'm not everywhere, and I don't necessarily notice. But I love that I have my eyes on
and your ears open.
And my ears open. So if you spot something, shoot us an email. We'll send that along too, because we want to make sure our district is getting the attention it deserves.
And you do. I can say that. Okay, Joan, until next time.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It's so
Thanks so much
great
for having
to have
me
you.
here.
Okay.
Awesome.
This is Julie for You the People.